So guys, today I want to talk to you a little bit about the Virtuo, and in particular I want to talk to you about the bridge design. I want to talk to you about strings and how you might choose the right strings for this specific setup on how you might want to use the Virtuo. So the Virtuo is the guitar that we say has the acoustic body and electric soul, and it is an acoustic instrument, but it's got a lot of electric pickups here. But with that, it gives you an awful lot of freedom in how you might want to use that guitar. That's also why I designed the Virtuo with a fully adjustable bridge. I wanted to have a bridge that will allow you to use both electric strings and acoustic strings. And that's something that we really need to consider with this guitar in a way that you don't normally have to think about. A lot of the guitars that we send out from here we ship with electric guitar strings. A lot of people are choosing the Virtuo, coming much more from the electric side of things. They're going to use it maybe 70% as an electric guitar, 30% pulling in some acoustic sounds as well. And for that reason, they feel more comfortable on electric guitar strings. The strings that we ship the guitar with as standard is the Dario NYXL, really fantastic set of strings, and the gauge is 10 to 52. So 10 is light enough on the trebles for bending and that kind of playing, but heavy enough on the bass side that it still has a nice full acoustic sound if you're strumming and digging into it. If you go with a lighter set of strings, you can certainly do that, but I think you're really going to notice it whenever you're using it as an acoustic guitar and going through the piezo pickups here. It just doesn't really have enough body to really give you that full acoustic sound. If you're coming at it from more of an acoustic side of things, if you're playing more acoustic guitar, then you might want to put acoustic strings in this guitar. And there's something that we need to talk about that you really need to think about when you're choosing the set of acoustic strings. So we have a set that we put on this guitar as standard, and they're from U-Tone. They're a special double wound custom string that's made for us. And the reason that we use these is they are more magnetically active. So if we look at a standard acoustic guitar string, the internal winding, or the internal core I should say, is magnetically active. So it will pick up on the pole pieces from the magnetic pickups here like any regular electric guitar string, but the outer wrap is actually not magnetic. So there's not really the same amount of mass to really pick up on the Fishman pickups. So you might find on the bass side it just sounds a little bit duller, a little bit softer. Now you can adjust the pole pieces up. That's going to bring you a little bit extra volume in there. But if you can find a string that's got a higher magnetic content in it, that's really a very, very good way to go. So it's going to give you the best of both worlds. So the NYXL the New-Tone double wound strings, they work really well from that point of view. And you're going to also notice that it's going to give you quite a fundamental difference in tonality. When you go to an acoustic set of strings, you hear that nice zing and ring of an acoustic string, as opposed to the duller sound that you get from electric guitar strings. So it's entirely down to you. Depends on how you're going to play the guitar. If you're playing out at a gig and you're playing more acoustic stuff, but you want to maybe put a little bit of lead electric in over the top from time to time, then going with a set of acoustic strings is a really good thing. Now, what we have to really consider though when we change these strings is they're going to have very different intonation points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we change the strings on a Virtuo and how we set up the intonation if we change between electric strings and acoustic strings. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this string off. And it just literally pops out of the little keyway, just the simplest way possible. So I'm going to take our number 1 string here. And to fit a pickup into a Virtuo, it's really quite simple. We've got a little hole here and we've got a little slot, and that just allows the ball end to go right down to the inside of the guitar, locks underneath the soundboard, and then pulls forward. So it transmits the energy really nicely into the top of the guitar, and it's a very, very simple, clean way to change the strings. Now, there's 2 ways that you can do this. One is you can just pop it in and pull it tight, but you've got to keep tension on the string the whole time to stop it from falling out. So what a lot of people tend to do is put your ball end in, pull it forward, and then find something to put in the hole. And in this case, we're going to use a golf tee. That works really well. Now it just means that the string can't come out, and you have both your hands whenever you're tuning the guitar back up again. So simple as that to change the string, and I'm just going to continue on here and change them all as we go. So we've changed all the strings, brought everything back up to pitch, and now we're just going to check the intonation and adjust that just accordingly as we go across. So it's really a quick and easy process. What I do is I just check that the string is perfectly up to pitch, check it at the 12th fret, and I can just see that the note is just slightly flat. So what we're going to do is reduce the tension, and that's really important so you're not putting the saddle under stress as we adjust it, and then we're going to adjust it back a little bit. Now if you find that it's sticking a little bit, sometimes it can catch in the carbon, you might want to just take the strings off a little bit more, lift up the saddle, and that should free it. So you don't want to force it too much, and you don't want to move it by too much at a time. So we're just going to make small adjustments and then bring it back up to pitch. And that's reading perfect now. So we're just going to do the same process just as we go through the other strings here, and get them all just set exactly. And this one's reading a little bit sharp, so that means we need to actually bring this saddle back. So there we have it. That's how we set the intonation. So not every string needed to be adjusted. The wound or the plain strings, pretty much the same intonation point between the electric and the acoustic because it's the same gauge, or very close to the same gauge. So, but yeah, as you can see, it's really quite a simple process. Just a matter of taking your time, doing small adjustments at a time, and that's going to really allow you to get the perfect setup on your Virtuo. So now that we've adjusted the intonation, then the last thing to look at is height adjustability. And with this bridge, you also have the ability to adjust the height in the same way as you can adjust the intonation. And that's a very common thing in most electric guitars, but a very uncommon thing on most acoustic guitars. So it's really just a matter of adjusting these two little screws here, and you can adjust up a little bit up or down. I'm not going to really change this too much because it's already set up to pretty much where I'd want it to be, both for acoustic and electric. But a couple of points that you want to note: whenever you're setting this up, it's very important to have the saddles sitting very straight right across. You don't want them angled down. Let's set one up wrong. So if we were to set it up like this, where the pickup is actually angled round and into the other pickup, then that might affect actually how it operates. It'll affect both the acoustic sound and very much the amplified sound. So very important to get all the pickups just sitting perfectly level, and that's going to give you a nice even contact right down to the bottom of the bridge surface. So that's really it. The last thing that you want to do, if you do start to adjust your action height here, you want to be able to maybe use something like a radius gauge and just check that you have the radius right, because you don't want to have a very different radius than the radius of the fretboard, or that's going to maybe end up with some areas that are a little bit too close, a little bit too high, and can just throw your playing off a little bit. So that's really what it is. It's really quite a simple process. I always say to somebody, if you're not familiar with how to set up the action on a guitar, then maybe it's better to steer away. There's a lot of luthiers out there, people who will take your guitar, set it up exactly to your playing style, and that can be a really good thing to do. But if you want to do some changes, bearing in mind that we will have set this guitar up in advance just for the perfect playability for what our standard action height is. But if you want to make some small adjustments, maybe measure and count the number of turns that you do. So you can always go back then to 0. So maybe 2 turns down, 2 turns back up, and if you record that, you're not going to get lost. So hopefully that's been a helpful video. Just gives you that little bit of insight into how to set up your Virtuo, how to choose the right set of strings. So just to recap, if you're an electric player, if you're playing predominantly electric side of things, you're probably going to find that the electric strings that are going to work best for you. If you're predominantly an acoustic player and you're maybe playing 70% acoustic with some lead over the top, some electric sounds over the top, then acoustic strings are a good way to go. Or change back and forth in between them, or even better, why don't you buy 2 Virtuos, keep one set up for acoustic and one set up for electric. Perfect combination. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back with more soon.